It is July. Halfway through the year.
Public discussion is not listed on this thing on accident, so if you wanna write it
Oh.
after pledge of allegiance.
Yep. I will allow it.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah. It is 8 o'clock. If we could stand for the pledge of allegiance, I'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public comment then.
Yeah, so, this morning I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to some new staff that we have. So yesterday was Barry Andringa's first day. Barry is our new, custodian maintenance staff over at the sheriff's office. He lives in Soy City and we're very glad to have him. And then, Kim Flory, she is housekeeping. She's been here for a couple weeks. You may have seen her. She's from Wesley and she's already doing a great job. So I just wanted to introduce them to you and have a chance for them to meet you. So if they see you, they know who they are, who you are.
Welcome.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, welcome. Thank you, guys.
Oh, we can leave now?
You can leave now. You can leave now unless you, yeah. Thank you
Have a
guys
good
for
day.
coming in.
Let the door shut?
No, it's
No, you
fine.
can leave it open. Okay, need a motion to approve the agenda and previous meeting minutes dated June 24th, 25.
So moved.
Motion by Haas has his hand raised, will second by Garmin. Any discussion on the agenda and minutes? If not, all in favor please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Discussion decision to review and approve the claims. I had a chance to look over the claims. Questions, comments?
This is the first claims for the
First-
new year, but
first
some
claim.
will be June, some will be July's.
And I believe, where was it I had seen? This is our insurance that came out here out of, yeah, Iowa Communities Insurance Pool. Yep, insurance renewal, so that was the big,
Yep.
big claim out of that one.
What do we get from the Iowa Drainage District Association for that kind of money?
I think it's the annual dues
It is annual dues.
to belong to it.
Mhm.
What do we get for that kind of money?
Yeah, that didn't answer your question, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
the
don't
answer
know,
to that.
Howard. Where's that at?
Supervisors, 15.
Under supervisors, okay. There we go. County mutual protection. Under that item, what is,
The mutual protection is for any litigation that could have impacts on a more statewide level. They'll engage in, not necessarily just handle it for us, but represent a bigger array on that level and help with the legal defenses, so that's one substantial piece of it.
So they do that if there's a statewide, but not if, like what we've been going through, they don't help with that?
No, they don't help more on an individual basis, but like, trying to think of an example where they would have, or could have.
Okay, no, that's fine, I just,
Yeah, it's more. Well, like for D 40 lat, or D 4 lat 40 and 42. There's some stuff with the CRP and the timing of it, and the state and feds are saying we can't go through until a certain time. And if that really became an issue, that would be something they could potentially be engaged in or whatever, but, we're waiting on an answer back for stuff there, so that's not to that point yet, but I mean, that'd be an example of, they could get involved on things that wouldn't have more than just a Kossuth County impact.
I don't wanna pound on this, but, so this mutual protection or the dues says something about 515,000 at 3 cents. Is that acres, is that?
It's a factor by acres, yeah.
Acres in drainage districts.
Yep.
So I assume that somebody that doesn't have as many drainage districts doesn't pay as much with the county mutual protection either.
Correct.
Correct.
That's the way I would understand it.
So the other claims on here, the Calhoun, Burns and Associates and Gingster and Kim, they both say FEMA. One says FEMA consult, one says FEMA Drainage Professional Services. Is one of those Leon?
Yeah.
Which one?
He'd be Calhoun Burns, wouldn't he?
Probably both. I'm not sure why they're, usually it comes from Calhoun and Burns, but Beanstream Kim was bought out by Calhoun and Burns, I believe, so, I don't know, we'd have to look at the specific invoices, but
Did we pay Leon Freeman for being here that day?
I didn't ask him, I informed him of the conversation and he said he would come up for it. So, he was available to answer any questions, but it didn't quite get to that point.
Well, yeah, I know that's off topic, but I didn't even know who he was.
I never met him either.
So I assumed he was a landowner back there until you said
Yeah.
his name.
I didn't know who he was either, I never had.
I would have liked to have been introduced to him, at least, or know that he was here.
Thank you very much.
But, okay. Well, those were my questions on the claims.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like Ehlers and Cooney must be doing something for the ordinance.
Yeah, I hope we see
We got a
one
bill.
pretty soon.
I know, right?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Haas to approve the claims,
I'll second.
second by Wactor. And if there's ever, just, I mean, for Howard, I'm sure everybody knows, but like, you can, if there's ever a claim that you're questioning or you don't wanna approve, you can always approve, you know, excluding a certain claim or whatever as well.
Or just ask and I will go
Or just
grab
ask
the
and we can
claim
find it.
for you so you can look at it.
Find information before we approve it
Yeah,
later in the
I'd be
meeting.
happy
or-
to bring claims
Yeah.
in for you to look at.
Yeah, just FYI going forward, so. Okay, we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, discussion decision to review and approve handwritten claims. Getting our board packet here.
I know, that's what I know.
There's one from Electronic Specialties. Carissa.
I saw those, I looked at those, where did I see them, just in the general?
In the
Packet.
regular board packet, yep, yep.
So these are claims that didn't make it by the cutoff, to make it in the claim run, but needed to be paid. The one for electronic specialties is the ARPA funds, that needed to be expended out of fiscal year 25.
Which one was the ARPA?
The, one to electronic
Oh, electronic
specialties, I
specialties.
believe. Yeah. We did the budget amendment,
Already.
Oh, yeah,
There's quite a few pages in.
but then they didn't, get there till the end. So she didn't get the bill till towards the end, so.
So the Fairfield didn't do anything.
Never saw anything.
good.
I guess we can lead the horse to water, but we can't make him drink.
It's unfortunate. If everybody's done looking at it, I'd make a motion to approve the handwritten.
Okay, motion by Garmin,
Just a second. Doesn't matter.
He's got it.
alright, second by Haas,
He's got what?
I said you got it.
discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Acknowledge the budget status report. Any questions on that? I guess we can let the record reflect we acknowledge that. Okay. Discussion decision to approve of cash on hand as of June 30th, 2025 for the auditor, recorder, sheriff, and treasurer. We'll need a motion to in effect regarding that.
Do we have something from the treasurer?
It just came this morning.
Oh,
Because they
okay.
can't-
It's not
They can't balance theirs till after the end of the day
Right.
yesterday, and the packet was scanned Friday, so. And I do have from the sheriff's office that came this morning also.
okay.
One.
Did you wanna know the amounts? Or before
yeah.
we approve, so $200, cash on hand, recorder's office, auditor's office, dollar amount on hand, 0. Kossuth County Treasurer, cash on hand, motor vehicle, $500, driver's license, $200, tax department, $1,066.66, bounties, etc., $0, dishonored checks, $1,149 for a total of $2,915.66.
Needs to update his signature.
Yeah, we might need a different signature page,
Oh.
but still the old board.
I'll tell him.
Cash on hand at the sheriff's office is $0.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Haas, second by Stecker. Discussion. If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. We are up to the County Library Association County Camp.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lisa Riesenberg from West Bend, and I'm just gonna give you an update on county camp that was held on June 13th out at the County Nature Center. We hosted 120 children. kindergarten through 5th grade. We had a great collaboration with a lot of entities. The Nature Center let us use their space. Beanie Bodie volunteered his time, because Billy Willie was, gone that day, so he did our nature hike with the kid and a treasure hunt with the kids. Kossuth County Extension, employee Lily Turkhart, she was there to do a program for us. The Algona School District provided busing, so they provided 3 buses and brought kids from their home library to the nature center and took them home again. Hy-Vee was donated some water for lunch, and Country Made also, of West Bend, also donated cookies for lunch. Our theme was level up, so it was a lot of gaming, activities, and challenges. So the STEM activity was building a roller coaster, and so the kids had a lot of fun with that. We did minute to win it games with the kids, and a lot of the librarians, put together those activities. We, also had some crafts and the nature hike and all of that stuff. So, it was a fun day, busy day. I sent a picture page, hopefully you guys got that. Yeah, the kids had a great time while we were together. It takes many volunteers and staff to make this day a success. Couldn't do it without them for sure. And, 100% of the kids, everybody had a great time, and learned something new at least in one of their activities. So, our finale was, entertainer who kind of talked about the 5 senses and did activities with the kids singing and dancing, so it was a good day. Yeah, we funded this with a grant, so it didn't come from any of our budgets, it was all grant funding and then all the volunteer hours, so, any questions, comments? Did I miss anything, Sandy? Okay.
Thank you for doing it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's a fun day. Thank you
Appreciate the
very much.
update.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day. Okay, we're up to discussion decision to approve resolution number 07-01-25-01, draw warrants.
This is a motion.
Okay. Motion by Garmin,
I'll second.
second by Wactor. Discussion.
Yeah, it's a yearly thing, and then it just authorizes, me to, or the auditor's office to draw, warrants for payroll. It's just a yearly resolution. Yep.
It's so that you don't have to authorize the payroll
Every
every
month,
single
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Okay. Further discussion? If not, roll call vote please.
Haas,
Yes.
Garmin,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath.
Yes. Motion carried. Discussion decision to approve resolution number 07-01-2502, interfund transfers.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by Stecker. Need a second, second by Haas. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor please say aye. Or
Aye.
sorry, roll call vote please.
Haas,
Yes.
Garmin,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath.
Yes. Motion carried. Discussion decision to approve the appointments and salaries of employees in all departments. We have our resolution up here.
Not a resolution, just.
Sorry, not a
That's
resolution.
okay.
Did I not say oh, never mind, I thought I read resolution.
Too many resolutions.
Too many resolutions, okay. Anything we need to know about this, or is it pretty
So-
straightforward?
I've got a concern, Carter.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Kendall.
I had presented, the salaries to the Conservation Board at the January meeting, where the Board of Supervisors recommended a 4%, and we had asked 6%. We
Okay,
did make that, adjustment for the full-time employees, and then they also approved a $23 an hour wage for one of our seasonal employees. That was submitted, when I returned the budget sheet, signed, and returned that to Tammy. It was also approved at the budget, meeting we had. It was also approved yesterday in the handout of the, approved budget for the Conservation Board. But when I gave that salary list to the auditor, they said, no, we can't leave it at $23 an hour. They wanted to move it back because it was more than 4%. So that's my question, why when it was approved by our board and all those different channels, why is it not approved now?
So I don't have anything in writing that says from the board that it was approved at 6% or that there was an additional amount approved for the part-time position. When he says the budget was approved, the budget and the amount and the line item doesn't have a specific amount for a salary, it's just that line item. So that's not approving the amount somebody gets paid, it's approving a line item. And so I told Kendall, in order to set that amount in here, I had to have something approved by the board. He was not able to give me anything that was approved by you guys saying 6% or an additional salary. And I told him I could not list that in here unless I had something in writing from the board.
I guess I don't know if there's just a misunderstanding. I didn't realize we were approving 6% for anybody. I thought it was all 4%.
this is just for one employee.
It's one employee.
Yeah, I don't remember any conversation about 6% for one employee on the list when we had that conversation. I don't.
I don't either.
It was submitted after we had our January meeting, and it was put into the budget. I can show you the breakdown of the salaries if you want to see that.
I mean,
So, Kendall, submitting a line item amount is not the same as setting a salary amount. Because not all line items are exactly the amount of the salary because of overtime and other reasons. So, when the board sets, please correct me if I'm wrong, board, when they set a salary, amount saying 4% across the board, that is the amount that I go by, not by the amount that's in a line item, because that doesn't set a salary. That sets an approval of a line item, which can be more than one salary. Did I explain that correctly?
I think
So what's presented is 4%.
Is 4%,
4%.
yes.
Okay. I'd make a motion to approve as presented.
Why do we have a board that sets our salaries, which is by the code of Iowa,
Well-
then this board overrides it anyway? Why would that?
we have a motion, we'll discuss it here, Kendall. Kyle already made a motion, so we'll need a second in order to have discussion.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Garmin. Go ahead, Kendall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chapter 350 Code of Iowa clearly lists the duties of the Conservation Board, and I can give you each a copy if you don't have one. And one of them is to fix the salaries of the employees, and that's what our Conservation Board did at the January meeting. In that case, they had the one employee did not follow the 4%. She's not a salaried person, she's an hourly person. They set her salary at $23 an hour, which is more than the 4% increase. But that's what our board is supposed to do, and I submitted what our board requested, had it approved 3 different times. I didn't have the line item as Tammy mentioned, but I could show you the breakdown if you need to see that. So, that's why our board, one of the reasons our board exists, to set and control those.
Yeah, no, I understand your board goes through the budget and sets what they wanna recommend for salaries and other things. I mean, we had a lot of discussion on that during budget time, and I mean, I guess the Board of Supervisors is the final stop as far as legally, you know, who would approve of those salaries in that budget, obviously, that's why you come to us, but, that was what the board decided at the time, was that there would be 4% for the conservation, department, so I don't know how to
I
go back and
distinctly-
change that.
Okay, I distinctly remember you saying, Carter, we strongly recommend that your board do 4%. That was your words when I went back.
Yeah.
I said I will present that to my board, and that's what I did. And they did take the recommendation on the full-time employees, but in the case of this other staff member, they left it at the $23 an hour. And that
Okay.
was put in all the, auditor sheets that I returned to Tammy that had that amount.
I don't have the authorization to make a change on what you guys already approved in the budget, so that's why I left it as how I understood the salaries were set. Kendall, I don't have authorization to change those amounts. I have to do what I feel is presented by the board.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't understand it that way. I didn't understand that she was getting something different.
I didn't either.
I understood that you took it to the board and they said that the 4% was okay. I didn't understand that something separate was set for the part-time. I didn't get that from any of the communication.
I didn't either.
And that's what was submitted to Tammy.
That was submitted to me after the board approved your budget. Not before.
It was in the printout you sent me on January 23rd.
In the budget,
Mhm.
the same budget that they looked at, but none of us knew that that was the amount. You had it in the line item, not in her salary.
Correct.
Yes.
So if it's a recommendation and the money is there, why do we need to take her backwards? She's been an employee for 15 years. She has 2 college degrees. 4% of her hourly wage is nothing compared to 4% of my salary wage. That's what our board looked at, and our board felt she was deserving of $23 an hour.
Well, these are all good conversations for the budget. I think the point is that none of, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but none of us on the board can recall having that conversation, differentiating one particular employee out of blanketing a 4% on the department. I don't remember that at all, but I know we talked about a lot of things, it's just,
I don't remember it either.
and maybe the board needs to clarify our intention on that. I mean, we would have done that in the budget, but I guess,
What we approve here will clarify that.
so.
I think going forward, I think next year it would be helpful, it's saying this a little bit early in the timing of it, but I think next year it would be helpful to have a list of everybody's salaries with their department budget worksheets so that we know what we're working off of. And then we can maybe go through those individually versus just blanket line item. I think the line item, because there's usually a few people, in a line item, I think that would be helpful. I know that doesn't help this situation, but I know that I think we should have that next year.
And he did provide that, and that was in the information that you guys.
Yeah, I know, his was.
Yeah,
I don't think that we had the discussion.
Right.
Again, after
yeah,
we said the 4%.
yeah,
So I think that's where it gets confused.
yeah.
Well, cause I think Kendall included it in a line item, we weren't aware that was in the line item, and we didn't have the discussion, and so it was approved. And there was no communication regarding that particular employee.
On that particular line item, you could look at the salaries and it showed 6.5%. So you would, if you looked at that before you approved it, you would have seen that it was more than 4%.
But like
Nobody
I said-
questioned it.
We,
Like I said, Kendall, some people put overtime and other stuff in that line item. So that's not necessarily a fair, way to look at it.
The board decided 4% for,
I thought
For the
that's what
department,
we,
but
I
I-
didn't think that's what we were doing, and
that's where we left it.
I feel
And
like-
that's why Tammy plugged it in the way she did.
I didn't have any authorization to change it.
Well, I don't think that, we would have given you authorization for something we didn't know was
Right,
happening.
exactly.
You know,
Yes,
I,
right.
I think that we totally misunderstood that communication, probably.
It's not something that I was trying to slip in on anybody.
Oh, I don't
had-
think so.
I don't
had
think
it
you were,
in the-
Kendall.
I had it in the
No.
budget and I thought it was fairly plain that that's what was going on, and then go through 3 different steps and you approve it, and then I give it to the breakdown and she says, we can't do that, so I'm a little more than a little frustrated.
I understand.
Yeah. On one hand, that was not the intent of the board to have different salary increases. On the other hand, we approved it in the budget and didn't know it, so that's.
Yeah.
What do you wanna do and what can you do?
Well, and I mean, there's enough in the budget to give her the 6%, but it's just whether or not that was our intent. And whether we communicated that well enough or not. Evidently, we had some kind of a communication gap. Cause I didn't understand it that way. But I do feel bad if it was approved and she thought that she was going to get that wage and she's not going to. Because it was approved. So. I mean, there's enough money in his budget to pay for it, I get.
Can of worms?
Can of worms.
Well, and we do still have a motion in the second on the floor too. And that's approving as is presented here. Okay.
I'd ask you to change the names of the supervisors.
Does that need to be changed on here too?
No.
Oh,
Oh.
It says
oh.
Roger.
Oh, I
Oh.
didn't see that.
I didn't even see that. I will have her change that, thank you.
I thought you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Howard's not getting paid.
Yeah, thanks, Howard.
Yeah.
Is there retirement pay? Is there-
Not that I. Alright,
Okay, well. Any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor then?
reverse roll call vote, please.
Okay,
This
gotta
is for
write
you,
that down.
Howard.
I didn't ask for that.
Kyle did.
It's up to the chair to grant it or not, I don't care.
That's fine.
Okay, Wactor,
Oh, no, go to.
I still vote last.
Chair,
that's
chair
right,
should
that's
always
right.
vote.
No.
Stecker,
Yes.
Garmin,
No,
Haas,
I'll say yes.
Nath.
Mm. I'll say no, I think we need further discussion.
Okay.
Um.
So the vote fails and.
Vote,
we can
vote
do
fails
motion.
2-3, but, guess I already voted. I know there was miscommunication, but I did already vote to approve the budget a couple times, and if that what was in there, then that's what was in there.
So, excuse me, if you ready, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Howard.
So, my thought process was, in my vote here, that I thought we made it clear everybody was 4%, I know that, EMS went 6%, because they said they had it in their budget. I understand that they're saying they have it in their budget, I guess we were under the impression that everybody was gonna be 4%. If we were gonna make it, I mean, and if we change this, what's the flood gonna be like coming in the door? I mean, I don't know, I guess I was under the impression we were at 4, if we can handle the abuse, you know, it'll come, I don't care, if they can afford it, you know, I'm not dead set against it, but my impression was it was 4% across the board.
And we did reiterate that about every budget workshop more than once. But that's not how it turned out at the end either. But,
I will say that my impression was also that everyone with the 4%, that was
Mhm.
my impression. With the concert, and we did ask, I know that your conservation board does make those decisions for you. And we did ask you nicely, you know, to go back with the 4%, you did, and I appreciate that. Lack of communication, or maybe I just misunderstood things too, I don't wanna take anything away from someone. I think that what the board has, this is what I think we need to consider at this time. The board has authority over his bottom line of what's in his budget. And if that was in his bottom line, I think we need to consider it due to the fact that maybe it was misunderstood. I mean, if we don't wanna do that, okay, but I guess that's the communication I want to give right now, that we have control over the bottom line, and how he arranges it in his budget is up to him, because I know we had that conversation, it's been a lot of years ago. Remember that, Kendall, we had that conversation, and, I don't wanna do anything to upset anyone, basically. If we do the 6%, who else is gonna be upset, and then we're redacting what we've said, but we've done that elsewhere too, so. Those are my comments.
I think I'd echo the comment about the floodgates being open. I think the fact that we didn't have the specific conversation about the difference here at the time would be the key factor that I would look at. I mean, if we discussed it at the time, that's one thing, but I can't sit here and look at it now and say, oh, it was just a total in the line item. I mean, you could have had a part-time individual that typically put in X number of hours, and the hours were going to increase, so you needed a bigger line item. I mean, a percentage on a line item for part-time staff doesn't guarantee that one single staff person is receiving that percentage of a raise. And I don't know how all 5 supervisors on the board could miss a conversation about one single employee. So I don't believe that was discussed at the time. We could go back to review stuff, but I don't believe it was discussed at the time, and that's what I'm gonna stick with.
I don't mean to muddy the waters further, but, as we're having this conversation, is medical death investigator and mental health transport, is that 4% or 6%?
So we changed it to 4%.
4%?
Yeah, because they had put in, he had said that he had told the board during his discussion that he would make changes to his, and so he did, and we changed it back to 4%. Because that's the only authority we have, we don't have authority to make any changes other than what you guys said.
Yeah, well, this is another reason I voted no on that, cause I wanted, before I approved the whole list, I wanted some clarity on that too.
Yeah, the instructions that I have from the audit and from the Code of Iowa is that I follow the budget that's set by the Board of Supervisors, not what the department heads turn into me. So if they submit any amounts different than what we come up with what you set, the amount we put in our sheet is what you guys have approved.
And in approving of a 6% increase for EMS, that does not include medical death investigator, mental health transport?
Correct.
Is that correct?
They're not EMS,
Separate department.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just clarifying.
yes.
Okay. So, I guess, point being that there must have been some miscommunication with Phil then, or in some way, as far as in desiring a different, or assuming a different, wage increase for medical death investigator and mental health transportation. But they're going to be approved at 4%, the way it's written. And that was the intent of the board, I think,
Yeah,
and so that's where it gets muddy then with conservation, is what, you know, we got miscommunication going on and what's the intent of the board, so. That's why I wanted to, before I voted to approve the whole list, I wanted to clarify that, to make sure.
Is it helpful, because it's hard for our office too to explain to people, you know, what the board has done. Is it helpful, if next year, if you do something like that, 4% across the board, 2%, whatever it is, to have the department head sign off that that is what their department is getting, or how do we correct it so we don't get to this issue again?
I think maybe having a list like this that has the current wage they're on and what they will go to for each employee of that department
So-
in
At budget time.
in
Maybe.
conjunction with the total line items at budget time.
So maybe approving or having this alongside the budget at budget time,
Yeah,
and
probably.
then at this time
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Mhm.
Yep.
Cause now's a little late in the game for, in certain things to have discussions, you're at length
Right,
anyway.
Right, yeah.
I have a question. All the other departments that you're talking about, do they have a board, like a conservation board? Like
Some
in
do,
code?
and some do and some don't.
Okay, so, I mean, with the Iowa code, that is telling them that they have control over the wages. You just have control over the bottom line, is kind of how I would understand that, because that's how library boards work as well. So, if their total went up only 4%, and I don't know, because I haven't seen any numbers, but they should be able to wiggle things around as far as who's getting paid what. But there again, I don't know where the checks are coming from or anything, so just a thought from the library world that the board sets the wages, but the city pays the wages, so kind of the same thing, I would think.
You're a division of the city, yeah,
Yes,
you approve
yeah,
your budget,
yeah.
but.
Yeah.
We've got a few of those.
Our intent was different than what he presented. But that wasn't understood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And if we had understood the difference in request versus our understanding at the time, I think we would have had that conversation, but we didn't.
Open to any other motions? Or more discussion?
Well, not much point in making, you want the same motion, can you do the same motion again?
You can.
Okay.
Not supposed to if you're on the losing side of a vote. Depending on how tight you're on Robert's Rules of Order. So. I mean, I'd make the same motion, but I'm not gonna make it if it's.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, yeah,
We already voted on it, we could have had more discussion before a vote, but. Or someone else can make it again, I mean. I'll make the same motion if the chair recognizes it.
No, if you're on the losing side, yeah, no, we better not.
I just don't wanna sit here in silence for 20 minutes.
No, I'm just pondering.
Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place, 'cause I
I
don't
see the
wanna-
wheels turning.
Yeah, I don't wanna take
Yeah.
away something that someone was told they were gonna get, and it's not about whether or not they deserve it, it's about setting a precedence though, too, you know, are we gonna approve a budget and approve wages and then come back and change it again next year, you know, is that gonna happen again the next year, the following year after that,
Well, I mean,
Hope-
yeah,
no,
I'm sorry, I thought you were.
yeah, no, that's fine, I was just asked a little bit.
I think we recognize the flaw in not being able to see those wages in front of us, at budget time. Those really do need to be in front of us at budget time, so that we can see the numbers and we know that, they were what our intent was. I do think this is a little bit unique because of the situation with having the conservation board. And that's why, you know, I know that we improved their bottom line. And I appreciate that Kendall went back to his board and did ask for the 4%. In actuality, he didn't have to do that. So I do appreciate that, so I guess I'm just gonna make the motion, to, approve what is the official term of our wage scale?
Appointments and salaries?
Appointments, approve the appointments and salaries.
With the correction of the names and
Yeah, with the corrections of the names of supervisors and, our part-time naturalist, is that her title? With allowing the 6% that was put into Kendall's budget. Does that make sense?
Yep, I'm following.
What was her title, Kendall?
Assistant naturalist.
Thank you.
It was $23 an hour, was what was listed.
Okay, we have a motion by Garmin then. Does anyone want to second that?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a second by Wactor. Discussion?
The only thing I wanna say, I know I made the motion, but I really preached, I think is the right word, for consistency, you know, with everybody. We didn't always follow that. we weren't consistent, but we tried to be. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Kendall, the code of Iowa states that you control salaries, we only control your bottom line, or, sorry, not you, but your board controls salaries, we control your bottom line. We make, is that why I said strongly recommend at the time
Right,
versus you will do this?
right, that's correct.
Okay, Phil, does the code of Iowa address that? For medical death investigators and
He doesn't have a board,
and mental health transport, you don't have a board,
He has an advisory
He-
board.
but that's for
but that's for
EMS.
EMS,
Okay.
that's not for
It's not
medical.
the same.
Okay,
Not the same thing, so that is different then,
Yes.
yes,
okay,
that's different.
He prepares the budget and presents
No, I
it to
understand.
us for those
Mhm.
departments, and we have the final say on those ones.
okay,
It may be different in some ways, but I guess if there's a difference in communication or understanding, it seems like that's pretty similar.
Cause we did
Yeah,
discuss,
they don't
we
have
did
that.
discuss the salaries, because I brought the salary appointment to the budget workshop. But I'm not arguing the point,
No, I,
4% is 4%.
on the basis, honestly, of my motion is on the fact that Kendall does have a board. That is why my motion states that. That is the only reason.
Would you like me to repeat the motion to
why
make
don't
sure I
you,
have it
yeah, why
correct?
don't you do that, please?
Motion by Garmin, second by Wactor to approve the appointments and salaries of employees in all departments with the correction of the names of supervisors and part-time appointment of, or part-time assistant naturalist, with the increase of 6%. That was approved in the budget at $23 an hour. Correct?
Is that exactly 6% or is that more than 6%?
It should be 6.5, but the dollar amount is what's the most important.
Fine.
It's hourly.
I wanna make sure they're both correct, so
What was her previous?
What's she at currently?
let me look. What's her name?
It's the same thing you had,
That's for this year.
assistant naturalist. It's got the previous year and then this year listed.
Okay. Double check in here, make sure we have the same.
What was the previous year? Okay.
Is our internet down again?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is too, it's not letting me in.
Oh yeah, mine's gone.
Yeah, I haven't had it for a while.
It is a 6.5. $6.4749, to be exact.
Okay, I think we can say 6 and 10.
Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah, internet's down, so
Okay,
I can't verify, but I'm sure it's correct.
okay. Well, if that was last year's, going from last year to this year.
Yeah,
but-
I was just gonna double check,
Oh.
make sure the amount was right,
Yep.
but I'm sure it is, I
Yep.
was just gonna double check.
Yeah. Does everyone wanna see this sheet, last year to this year comparison at all? Okay,
No, that's okay.
alright, alright.
somebody says something that changes my mind, a little more discussion, I'm gonna vote for the list as presented, and in that case, the 4%. I certainly didn't go through any whole list and check every one to see if they were exactly 4%. And I didn't do it in that case either. I'm not saying anybody tried to slip anything in, that was the understanding that I was operating on. That's just my point of discussion, that's why I'm gonna vote, why I'm gonna vote. Unless somebody throws something into.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if we're stating our reasons why we might vote the way we vote, it's mainly because of, we approved that bottom line, and I do feel like it was something we missed. Not intentionally, not, I don't think, we didn't realize we missed it, but we did.
I don't have
Yeah.
anything further
Nope,
to say
that's
than I
fine.
already have.
Well, if we're ready, do anything, Josh?
No.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Haas,
So the motion is to.
Or do you wanna reread the motion and then
Sure.
we'll,
sure.
if there's confusion on that?
Yeah, motion by Garmin, second by Wactor to approve the appointments and salaries with the correction of names of supervisors and the part-time assistant naturalist at 6.5% increase that was approved in the budget at $23 an hour.
Okay, roll call vote then.
Haas,
No.
Garmin,
Yes.
Stecker,
No,
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath.
Yes. Motion carries 3-2. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks for coming in.
Yep. Okay. We are then. What are we up to next?
Appropriation.
Okay, we're up, oh, I didn't have that next.
State appropriation fund.
Only did do, okay. Okay, discussion decision to approve the state appropriation funding for FY 25-26 for homestead credit and disabled veterans property tax credit. Need a motion,
Boilerplate,
What?
just do this.
Yeah,
this is a,
the Department of Revenue sets
State,
this,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know why they need our approval.
Yeah. We do it every year.
Yeah, like,
Okay, motion by Haas,
Second.
Zarman. Okay, any discussion? If not all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. Discussion to acknowledge the prorated funding for ag land and family farm.
Same thing comes from Department of Revenue.
But we do,
Motion. Oh, sorry.
that doesn't matter.
alright, motion by Garmin. Need a second?
it's just to acknowledge, I don't know that we.
Oh, yeah, it is discussion to acknowledge,
Yeah,
we don't need a
yeah,
motion.
it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
forget the motion.
Okay,
We'll let the record reflect that we acknowledge that. Discussion decision to review and update sections 2.1 to 2.2 of the Kossuth County Handbook.
can we take just a quick break?
Break time?
Just a
Okay.
quick one.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back 5 minutes.
And then if you send these and this, all of these. And I'll have Nick fix this.
Good morning.
We haven't done anything, we're not even beyond. We haven't started anything.
It's 2.1 and 2.2.
Yeah.
What is it?
It is, I'm sorry, what is it? It's a pay and hours of work, so it's the, or,
No, it's just,
pay, hours of work, when you're paid,
just a definition,
yeah, definition.
definition of employee status.
And then that's just from our attorney, the French sheet, so it's, who knows?
It's kind of
Who knows? I say that. I did
I disconnected,
a typed up version versus
not a big issue,
the unmarked version.
but yeah. Solved my own question, thanks.
It crossed out, blue out, red out,
Yeah, I can't do it.
so this is what you're,
No, it's, well, it's, we haven't discussed it yet. Which like I said, I have some suggestions, but I don't have it. More paper.
More paper, thanks Donna. Thank you.
Yes.
Losing my mind, Josh.
What are you looking for?
That motion we just passed, the change that needs the changes. Oh, there it is.
Well, drive over there, that's gonna be your own.
That's about all I can do.
They're not gonna be able to answer a phone if they don't have connection. You're gonna have to drive out there.
That's crazy.
Your son will call to yourself.
I have AT&T and I made a phone call this morning
Did you?
to US Cellular, but, and I could use my phone as a hotspot. But that's probably it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, but I
Yeah.
can't connect to our county server because our county server has no internet to respond.
Totally cracked out.
So, yeah, she's down already.
It's, yeah, it's crashed hard. Is
I think it's time for holiday.
911
What's that?
No, start the holiday.
yeah, well, I'm guessing with what can get done in here without Aegis as well.
I know. I've got weigh-ins today, so I have that going.
Don't let anyone take my spot.
Scales not hooked to the
Scales
internet.
not to the internet, it's not shared data.
Al said on the radio this morning that he couldn't get his weather and he couldn't get, and I wondered if somebody could look at their cell phone and get the National Weather Service forecast, which is what they must have done eventually. But if your refrigerator was hooked to the internet, hopefully it kept it cooling it.
It's too nice out. We should,
Is that why you broke the internet? So that you could go home?
yeah. just move our meeting to the parking lot or something. Finish up. So Herner heads down. How productive are the rest of the offices?
We had that discussion already.
Yeah.
Well, they're productive as they can be. but
Right.
not productive.
Right. 100%. Go back to hard paper.
My bad.
Way back in the day, when electricity went out, I started a candle, I was trying to
Yeah.
work on a candle.
We can't do
It
this.
just Singed my hair, so I'm not doing that again.
Our driver's license an issue,
It's like,
because those issuance computers aren't hooked up, they don't have internet on
Oh,
them. So, but anything else, they're,
wow.
oh, so we can still,
All your spray work?
Well, they got it all done the first time, we got a couple of holes, they drowned out last year that are ugly that need to be touched up, sounds like tomorrow's gonna be the day for that.
Yeah. I've been trying to I got a lot of clover in my yard. Oh, great. Just trying to, I don't know how,
Just if outside.
I just got some weed be gone, but
American
I
flag
don't know how
is
patient
missing.
I need to be, that I expect it to be dead the next day, you know. It looks like some of it's, that's a tough one.
Our American flag is missing off of our pole.
Afraid.
Here it is, almost Independence Day, and we don't have a flag on
maybe
it.
they're putting a new one.
Guy
They might
comes up,
be,
do
yeah.
mine, can I, you want me to stop and do yours? He did, we had a plug, you can just see rows of clover and rows of dandelion.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how easy it is to kill in the middle of summer either, I don't know.
Well, that's what I keep wanting. Carolyn, she wants, you know, I said, geez, you really wanna get it, go in the fall.
It's not, this is my opinion, that's all it is, it's not a one-year deal,
Yeah,
it's just something you have to do every year and eventually you're ahead of it. And if you have a plug nozzle, you don't see it as a row, then when the big wind came through 2 or 3 weeks ago on that Wednesday afternoon,
yeah,
farm halfway to Whittemore, the cotton, just cleaned the cottonwoods out.
oh,
My wife was good enough to help me pick the sticks up finally yesterday, but the grass and the clover and
yeah,
was all way too tall, it's like mowing green manure, it just,
yeah,
when it keeps raining,
We're still waiting to bail
temperatures
hay.
haven't been out
For
of
the
sight,
first
you
time?
know, it's been humid, the lawns just keep growing.
oh, they have. And then, whatever, before last year,
First of the week.
3 or 4 years prior to that, it was so dry that it wasn't good for the grasses either, so.
Not the only one, because all the neighbors have been cut either.
Really?
I
Across
was
the
just
road.
using the excuse, I'm raising children, not raising grass.
Well, it certainly helps with the mowing if you don't have the weeds.
Well, I mean, every couple days we've got
Just
tenths here, a couple tenths there, an inch here, an inch there.
You always get.
Like 2.5 inches a couple days ago.
This time of year.
Sure. Sure, that's another thing.
You know what I noticed with the weather this year is here in Algonah, when you watch the radar, like from all the storms and stuff in the past, it's like split off.
No.
It either goes north or south. I know North has been getting hit, so you know.
Still got
Here's
that
next
public
with the
protection.
I know.
Okay.
Information.
It's absolutely awful carrying this thing around all day.
Well, I bet when it's hot.
It is, actually. It is. But 4 weeks tomorrow. Need to make it to, I'll go next week. That's 5 weeks and then they tell me if I can be in a shoe at 7 weeks, so that's my hope.
A shoe?
A regular shoe, yeah.
A shoe?
Yeah, just a regular shoe.
It wasn't that, Joe. A
Huh?
shoe?
Thank you, Donna, for the information.
Alright, we are back. We are back to discussion of 2.1 to 2.2 of the Kossuth County Handbook. About time.
Okay.
We're gonna postpone this.
No.
No, Kyle.
Another
We're
week.
done.
No.
Go ahead, Donna.
Okay,
Ignore him.
to clarify, I mean, we have not gone over section 2 at all. I think when we started to do the markups, they're included. Quite honestly, I get confused looking at the markups back and forth, so I provided you a copy without the markups with the information in there. The front page that I handed out, Allers and Cooney and Schmidt gave some recommendations or suggestions. I think they're from other counties, just on things that we can incorporate. Section 2, and I was gonna have, Melissa come down with payroll. I don't know, I'm sorry. and I
She's
think-
kind of in the middle of
Is she in the
something,
middle
but
of
let
something?
me
Today's
see.
kind of a weird day, I
Yeah, let me
understand.
see.
Because I think what we run into is clarity between departments, clarity on payroll. I'm starting a clean draft of the changes, section 1, reformatting it. And I guess my initial suggestion was maybe to just do like a chart with the departments. We have some varieties, but we need to know what those, or variations, not varieties, variations based on their workload. We need to know what those are, and I kind of find it confusing to read through, because some of the definitions are just repeated within those paragraphs. And at that, I'll let the discussions begin.
On page 3, under longevity pay,
Okay,
Says it-
I don't know what, hold it, I don't know what your
Let's-
page 3 is, or, okay, this is, okay, that first 2 pages, are these first 2?
this sheet you
Yes.
handed out.
Those are not the handbook, those are just suggestions. So, it's not, they're just things that she had suggested,
Okay,
so,
I just had a question on the longevity one.
but that's later in the. I'm not
Okay,
sure it's
sorry.
even in this section of the handbook.
So Melissa's here, Donna.
I just thought I explained that when we have variations, trying to clarify it and understand it and cleaning that up.
I have a question about employees must take lunch break and may not work through the lunch break. That's how we want it worded, is that why all that other stuff's crossed off?
Where do you see that, Amber?
This is, I think it's
Suggestions
right on
here.
the very first page.
Okay.
right at
Second
the top.
paragraph.
Yeah.
I think that, I think that was originally when the union was started, I think that was clarified in a memo.
Is this ours?
So again, some of
So
it
that's
is
from Donna.
what had been taking
So
place,
she
what
said the
is
first 2
taking
pages
place,
are
and what we want to
stuff
take
that other
place.
counties
I'll
have in
be
theirs
honest,
that we
okay,
have
okay.
had
I
to.
don't, and maybe I'm just the only one who feels that way, but I think it's okay if say they have an appointment, like, I don't know. If somebody's trying to work as many hours of the day so that they can go to an appointment at the very end of their day, why make them go to lunch and then also be gone another hour at the end of the day? Like if their department head approves of that, if they're trying to get work done, I mean, I guess I don't see an issue with that, as long as it's okay with their department head.
Yeah, what difference does it make if you're being paid for it, you know, I mean, to me, it doesn't.
I mean, I look at it as the employee's trying to either take, make the most of their workday by making an appointment at the very end, as late as they can in the day. Why not let them take their lunch at that time?
I agree.
I think it should be up to the department head.
It does allow, isn't this, unless the employee receives prior authorization?
That's crossed out. Oh, no, that's not, that's an example, sorry.
Oh,
in there.
I'm sorry,
So-
I was looking at it like it was crossed.
So I mean,
Yeah, I was
it would,
too.
wouldn't that be working with your department head then?
Yes,
Okay,
okay, so if we're putting that in there.
Okay.
Okay.
I missed that too, sorry.
no,
So, yeah,
It's
so
little print.
that's why I kinda just went with the cleaned up, because the crossed out,
So are you using this one that you hand out?
that's what I'm using. I find, I know you guys have this, and I don't know
Well,
which.
this is story counts.
No, the first 2 pages are examples, then you
Yeah.
turn to the next, section,
Okay.
and that's
There you
ours.
go.
I'm sorry, that's what I
yeah,
said.
I was confused.
These were attached for examples, and then our actual handbook is in behind.
Okay,
Okay, sorry.
cause I mean, I saw stuff in the packet, but.
Yeah, the packet with the markup,
Out.
I find confusing, but I think when you guys started reviewing, you wanted to know what those comments were.
Yeah,
So, maybe I'm just blind and can't see. Where's 2.1 on these sheets? Is it on here at all? Cause I'm not
2.1,
seeing it. Is that what my
what sheet
question?
are you looking at?
My, I'm looking at yours, my question is
'Cause
this new? Cause I'm not seeing
This
it.
is just corrections or suggestions from
No,
either
So
supervision.
2 was on there, I mean, it's in the handbook, maybe it didn't get transferred over.
Like this is 2.1, but it's not gonna, it doesn't say.
2.1 is definitions.
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't see definitions
it
on
wasn't
here.
on your markup,
No,
It's not in.
Oh, I see,
yeah.
I see what you're saying, this is 2.2. Okay,
so
So it probably looks like it did not get transferred
Okay,
over.
okay.
I would say for those definitions,
okay.
those initial definitions.
sounds good, okay. Just to make sure that we have it in there.
Yes,
Okay.
well, yeah, we would need to. Under 2.2, the working period and overtime, I think there was question about, we have the jail administrator and emergency management administrator that are not listed. A couple of departments have made addendums, and those are in the back. Those include the jailers and the sheriffs. They were not in the handbook when it was revised because of the union contract, and then EMS has since joined us.
In the, I guess the first main paragraph with work periods and departments and stuff, treasurer's office was crossed out in the,
I think it was
Yeah.
trying to be alphabetical, and so it was not meant to be crossed off, it was just meant to edit.
yeah, cause I didn't see that one
Okay, Yeah.
conveyed in there.
yeah, I do see that,
And I didn't see it anywhere else.
right. You're correct. But I think the intent was not to cross it off, the intent was to edit it and then re-put it in. So it's alphabetical, cause otherwise it's confusing keeping up with the departments.
Yeah, cause I saw GIS was crossed out and then added back
Yeah.
behind general release, which, yeah, that. Are there any other departments that are missing? Besides treasurers?
Well, EMA, if we wanna add them or where we want them to go. jail administrator, where we want them to go, and then we've kind of had a clarification or a distinction with zoning, I know it's combined, but I think it's probably should be listed.
Yep. I would think plan and zoning could be, well, sanitarian listed at all either.
Environmental health is.
Environmental health is kind of what their new terminology that they've used.
So. Yep, that's. Yeah, so I would think it should be listed in the same spot there.
List EMS administration on that same spot with those, cause that's paid different than the EMS staff.
What were the questions or confusions
Well, one of
or
the
for
things I
payroll
think-
purposes?
One of the questions that was brought up, like for computing overtime, beginning at Monday, 12 AM and ending Sunday at midnight, that's fairly consistent with the exception to custodian and maintenance. One starts on Saturday and one ends at midnight on the following Friday. But I think and I think Kendall, you had recommended that yours adjust, correct, cause it had been different?
It had been different.
Okay. So instead of having that for individuals, if we could just have the basic of the start time, the hours, when they're paid, what constitutes for overtime and comp time, and then have those other general provisions be listed, that are all the same. Am I speaking, does that,
Yeah, I would think a normal work week starts on Monday.
Is there a reason they can't be the same?
well, I'm not saying that there can't be, but this is how it was, and I don't know that I can change it, but I've talked to maintenance and they didn't seem to think that that was gonna be a challenge.
Mine starts at 7 AM on Sunday.
Well, yours is 28, yours is different, yours would have to be different and the jailers would have to be different, because
Yeah,
you're,
the
work
28 day
hours.
versus.
right, so we would clarify that, but where they're similar, we're repeating it.
But Ann did have a question about whether EMS could be 28-day, correct?
We addressed that though, remember, the three of us called?
Unfortunately, no, I don't remember.
I know. I'd have to look, I think there's notes for that, but Phil, I'm gonna wave the white flag on answering some of those, you know, those parameters, or have that information, and I'm not clear on it. I have advisory FSLA/28 fire legal case, I don't know what that means, do you know what that means?
No, it's been 2 years ago that the three of us sat right up
I
there
know.
and called.
I know.
Yeah, I was just looking at the comment that she made, if the
I think that
paramedics.
comment was made prior to us calling, that comment's been on there for a long time.
Okay, I just have a bad memory, sorry Phil, I just can't
No,
remember.
that's fine. I wanna do it right, I don't wanna go back.
Well, you did
Yeah.
do, if you go back on the last of the back of what I handed out today, we did do an addendum, and this is the addendum that would need to be interjected to the handbook.
So has that already been included or needs
You
to be
guys
added?
passed an addendum to it and
Yeah.
Yeah, but has that been put in the language?
it has not added into, we need to add that in.
Okay.
And so this would be my example of, so it says who work in excess of 212 hours. We just had a chart instead of having to read through the 5 pages to know what triggers overtime, what is a standard work week. So that we have a better understanding of that
For each
for
department.
each department. Versus the paragraphs, and then keep the start times or whatever. It's all clear as mud, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wonder what the point was of having the custodians be 12:01 Saturday and end at midnight on Friday.
Yeah.
What was the-
I don't
What was
know.
the point of that?
I don't understand that either.
Why wouldn't it just be Monday through Sunday? Cause I know they come in on the weekends, so that weekend is their overtime.
But you had it different too, it was all over, so I don't know as they came on.
I don't know either.
Yeah, okay. I would just leave the normal week, work weeks for them.
Okay, so we kinda covered what is in the first section, assessor, attorney, whatever. Doug, do you have any comments on engineers?
Well, yes, and I have a question that it seems that there is a sentence that says use of sick leave shall be counted as hours worked for purposes of overtime. And I don't believe that was in the handbook that we had, that was passed in 2016, 2017. Is that a requirement? That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No, cause I thought you had to work in order to get overtime.
It was an addition, Doug, yeah.
Yeah,
So can I just start taking, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, can I just start taking my sick leave so I'll have overtime?
Yeah, I kinda wanna know why that's in there too, cause I really thought you had to work. That overtime was only computed on hours worked.
in my opinion, it should be.
Yeah, cause in the one with all the departments, it does say it's for hours worked over the 40 hours.
I don't know how that got
It
added
says
in there.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
And in the last one that was approved, it says paid leaves, holidays, and vacation time shall not be counted as working time for purposes of determining overtime.
It's under the IT.
So I don't know how-
It shall be counted as hours worked for purposes of overtime.
I think that's just a general, not just.
Is there a comment?
I don't see a
specifically
comment.
with that, I don't either.
So I don't know where or how.
It's again down under the auditor.
Yeah, I think we should double
And
check with,
custodian maintenance.
And IT, yeah.
I mean, I think we should double check with legal, but I don't think that should be in there if it's not a requirement.
Well, and it's in blue, so it looks like something she added.
Yeah, I don't.
That Ann added.
Was she the only one that made?
She
No,
made
she-
blue.
she's
made the
blue.
Comments.
What color are you in the sheet?
Red and green.
Red, yeah, so,
Okay.
guess we have to make sure it's not a law thing. Something that changed in the law or something.
Yeah, I would confirm that and then remove it if not.
Yeah, cause it's added on all of those.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Doug?
In the second paragraph of work period and overtime for the engineer's office, the second sentence says, all non-exempt employees who work in excess of 40 hours shall be paid in the form of compensatory time. I would prefer that that says, all full-time employees, full-time non-exempt. We have seasonal workers and they work overtime. We pay them for their hours worked overtime, but if the right person would delve in here, they are non-exempt. They may try to get compensatory time.
There were 40 year hours, it's not 42 hours, sometime.
Right.
Right.
But, just because you're non-exempt, if you're a seasonal worker, I would say you're gonna get overtime pay, not compensatory time.
I think there was a comment, is there a comp on, cap on comp time?
I think that's that's not in that was gonna be my third.
Third comment, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I know how the secondary road department and their comp time runs. I don't think this handbook runs anything like that.
But I'm presuming maybe she meant in this section for the engineer's staff versus road.
Pardon me?
She probably used the term road, but she probably meant that office staff.
Who's she, I guess?
And is the attorney that.
I guess I have no idea what,
Okay.
I'm sorry, everything that I've been provided, I can't tell whose comments or whose, and, I'm thoroughly confused about the whole process. And even to the point where we aren't getting any work done,
I agree, it's,
so. I mean, this, in my opinion, some department heads need to get together, get this thing put together, and give it to the board of supervisors and say, this is ready to go.
Donna, can I ask a question? Do we have a list of non-exempt and exempt employees of who gets overtime and who doesn't?
I've started one, but we don't have it, no. Or what I thought, and that's again, it's hard to get everybody to get together and clarify.
What would it take to get that completed? Cause I would think that's something we should probably have.
I started a real basic, just on what I know, again, I don't know what goes on.
Is there a spot in payroll that marks it or not? That marks it exempt or non-exempt?
No.
I know that was always confusing, the non-exempt and the exempt.
It
It was
is.
like, what?
And,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons we were working on job descriptions
Job
was
descriptions, yes.
to put exempt or non-exempt, and we haven't, that hasn't been completed either.
Typically, I think department heads, they don't
Right.
get overtime,
No,
Right.
department heads usually.
overtime or
don't.
comp
No,
time,
correct,
cause they're salaried and that's their,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I wish there was more department heads here, but is it easier for you guys to just all get together and put it together and then bring it to us? And
Well,
go
that was
over
the
it?
original
That was the
intent.
original
The
intent.
original.
I think we've had 3 years in
The,
that
the reason
category.
why we started having the discussion as a board is so that we'd actually start having discussions.
So that, okay, cause,
About that.
okay,
5 years ago, we started talking about adding EMS to the handbook, and today, nothing's changed. It's been 5 years.
I think that was done in an addendum or whatever, but yeah, we
Yeah,
have
the
not had a
addendum's
finished product
Then
for
it was there.
Yeah.
3 to 5 years. It's,
Yeah.
it's been a
Solid,
long,
oh,
long
yeah,
time.
2022 for sure. And if it was there before, I don't know.
But I mean, ultimately, all this stuff is things that the departments need to work, department heads need to work out. I mean, the board of supervisors goes over it and that's fine for us to review it, but
it's the department heads that have to follow everything in it, so,
Well, that whole brings up a whole nother point. We can write it, but.
yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
it's a tool that we need, but I think we need to also have people get on board acknowledging what the importance and why we have the tool.
well, and I think that's why it's so important to have like all the elected officials and department heads be a part of that, because they know how they've been doing it in their department, and then
What
that
we're
way,
doing here.
if something's put in the handbook, it's like then they're all aware of it, and know this is going in the
Yeah.
handbook,
Section.
or we're
The
changing
problem
this.
is, we don't have all the department heads there at every meeting, but if they're not there, I guess they don't get to put in their 2 cents. Carter suggested that during our department head meetings every month, that this is what we do a section at each meeting, we only meet once a month,
It's
but.
gonna go faster than
I would
that.
say a half-day retreat maybe, or I call it a retreat, but just lock yourself in a room, workshop, whatever you wanna call
And
it.
get it done.
Get something hammered out, like, this
I
is
agree.
painful.
It is,
Cause,
Yeah.
because I don't think we've really accomplished much
No.
by having it on our agenda.
we
No.
haven't,
Because it's hard, because we don't necessarily know all the different dynamics, but we expect the department heads and the elected officials to know those
To
dynamics and
communicate
follow.
that, and I don't
Yeah, I
know
know.
all those rules that, I,
and unfortunately,
and-
it's not possible for department heads to make every board meeting either, because they have
Well,
stuff
right.
going on too,
Right.
so.
I mean, that's all true to some extent, but even the addendum that we already approved, like, that, I guess, I would've thought that would've been incorporated before it came here, not after, because
it
it's
probably
already been voted on.
It probably should have been, but honestly, to keep, I'm gonna even say, managing, knowing where those addendums are and where, how they processed. But yeah, we do need to incorporate that.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
agree.
otherwise we're looking at a
Old and older.
partial half draft of things and you get nowhere.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna suggest pick a day that everyone can just get together, or as many as you can, and just
Hash it out.
hash it out. And,
Within the next 2 weeks.
well,
yeah,
in the
Well,
near
I
future
started-
anyway.
I started
Give 'em a month.
taking what you had said, other
Yeah.
than we don't have the comments back from the rehires and the transfers. But I've started, I only got to section 1, but I put on, you know, try being generous, that, you know, approval date by September. Just because I know how things go. I don't know if in the next 2 weeks you're gonna get, but we should be tackling it. We don't need to kick it down the road any
No.
further.
But I agree, it is something we should be hashing out with the department heads and figuring this out.
and then we approve what you guys have put into place and for all your individual differences, because there's differences.
There's,
And what we can streamline to make it easier for payroll, we do that. I mean, like figure out why we have so many different work weeks.
Right.
You know, make the work weeks the same, I think it'd be way easier, but maybe.
Yeah, I guess if there's something major or whatever that we need to talk about or we disagree on, then we deal with that this time, but I would think we should have a closer to final version than this.
How How about on Tuesday, August 5th, let's put it on our board agenda to have discussion with department heads regarding the handbook. And
Yeah,
accomplish what you can in a month. Does that sound fair? Or-
Yeah, I think so. That's good.
It's a goal.
Cool.
Okay,
Okay,
Yes.
thanks Donna.
thank you.
In the meantime, are we gonna reach out to and double check on that addition
Yeah,
to
we
all
can. I
those?
don't know.
If that's,
Yeah, the
I'm
same.
not sure.
if that's a law, then we have to have it in there, if not, then we don't need to move.
Cause it's definitely in all of those.
Yeah, it is.
So, there's priority.
Have a good day.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Doug, we're up to, your things here pretty soon, so if you wanna grab your stuff.
I will.
Alrighty, thanks. Discussion decision on battery storage systems. Kyle, you put this on the agenda?
Yeah, Dwayne Davis contacted me about this and it's in regards to the,
One up at Dakota, or?
yep,
Okay.
yep, he farms, I believe, right across the road from that. And I don't know if we've gotten the internet back for the whole system or not, but I forwarded out the email he sent and I'll just read it here. If
Okay.
anybody hasn't opened it. He said, with regret, I'll be unable to attend the meeting today with near perfect spray day, which requires me to be in the field after the rain delays we've had. I hope that you can approve a moratorium on battery storage facilities until the county is able to adopt an ordinance protecting the county and property owners from any and all potential effects of these commercial enterprises being sited in agricultural zone areas. A proposed site consisting of 96 battery containers, each the size of a shipping crate, along with an additional 24 similar sized power conversion units, are proposed to be set on a 15-acre tract in the northern part of the county, according to filings with the Iowa Utilities Commission. Each of these separate units will be placed adjacent to each other, resulting in the equivalent of a 15-acre building being erected. No provision for water runoff/collection has been included in the filing. Each of these 120 or more units will have multiple fans for cooling. No provision for noise mitigation was included in the proposal. These issues, along with many other unqualified risks to the county and its residents, such as above and below groundwater contamination, battery leaks, explosions, lightning strikes, fire management, etc., require you to act. For planning and zoning to determine if a permit shall be granted, they need to have an ordinance setting forth the guidelines for these types of commercial enterprises. The company proposing this facility in Kossuth County has acknowledged that no other sites of this scale are operational in the state of Iowa. For these reasons, I urge you to vote in favor of a moratorium until such time as an appropriate ordinance for the county can be drafted. And so that's, a couple of you have it open, so that's all in your email, but,
Mhm.
yeah, he had asked if we had anything in the works or if we could or anything along that line. And one of my first comments to him was, I mean, I know several of us were up at the meeting in Dakota, I think at least 3 of us were. So since they've gone through multiple meetings and permits with the Iowa Utilities Commission and stuff, I would be concerned on whether anything that was voted on today or next week or next month would even apply to it, but, basically just, it's on the agenda for discussion. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or feedback.
Well, I know we've talked about doing an ordinance in conjunction with the solar, and we've done a moratorium for the solar. I think it would be good for us to do a moratorium for battery until we can get that, finalized along with the solar. So my suggestion, opinion, thought, let's have Todd work up a
Right.
moratorium similar to what we did for the solar ordinance, moratorium. Put a similar end date on it.
I think you'll want planning and zoning to be involved in that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean,
They would
that'd
have
be
to be, but
something we should, whatever, we call them Maury over and stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of pieces of that.
Yeah, it might be something that he needs to maybe handle a little bit for us, that might be a good way for him to get involved in his position and knowing more about what he needs to be doing, you know? So,
and more about the project in general. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
so, I mean, I think that's a good idea to maybe have him spearhead talking to Todd about a moratorium for this. I
We
don't
wanna
know if
call
we
him
wanna
and see if-
call him and, yeah,
Didn't wanna
not
interrupt you,
just,
but
no,
I mean-
and not just,
Dwayne's
Listen.
concern in particular about that one up there,
I have one too.
I would tend to agree that that one would be grandfathered in even with a
Yeah,
moratorium, cause they've already gone through their permitting process, they've gone through their public hearing process.
I think it's too late.
I think that's a little late for that one.
We're talking about
Okay.
battery storage stuff, if you wanna pop over here for a little bit. Alright, thanks.
I mean,
Just my thought, I mean, cause, you know, the wind companies fight that, solar companies, it don't matter who you are, power companies,
yeah,
they all, you know, we already completed our permitting process and this, that, and the other thing.
and I believe they're.
You can't change your mind middle of the game.
Yeah, I believe they're looking at construction next year, so
Right,
if we say we're gonna take 6 months to put an ordinance together, and then we don't have an ordinance together and extend it, they're gonna be like, well, we've got contractors ready to put a shovel in the ground, and we're waiting on you to figure things out, and
yeah.
I think we'd run into a lot of issues there, but,
I mean, it's fine for future stuff, but just, I think that particular one would end up being grandfathered in to a point.
I know that was a point of discussion with the wind
Mm-hmm.
projects previously, so,
Well, that's why the cap was put on where it was too, is, and those projects were already in
Yeah.
progress,
Mhm.
so I could see the same thing happening.
I think there is a understandable concern about the impacts of something like this that
Mm-hmm.
is new, and I mean, there's all sorts of components to that, but at the same time, you look at the wind and solar projects that are here or near here or in construction other places, and you know that for those things to be successful or utilized in their most capacity, you have to have batteries, so I think those are kind of correlating with each other. And I'm sure that's a major driving force.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Good morning, Corey.
Yeah, good morning, Corey.
Good morning.
Thanks
If
for,
you want, you can sit up in the chair there, that way you can see all of us.
Alright.
I
Yeah,
can't see you. No, well, Kyle had put it on the agenda, had a landowner reach out to him, with some concern over the battery energy storage systems, and particularly the one going up northeast of Lakota.
Right.
And wondering about a possible moratorium, on that, similar to what we've done for solar. And the reason we called you over was just to involve you in the conversation. Josh had made a suggestion to visit with Todd Holmes about, potentially having a moratorium alongside of our solar as we move forward, at the very least for future projects, am I understanding that right? And we're not sure if it would apply to the current one since it's already underway, but, yeah.
Yeah. I'll forward this email to you as well, Cory, but,
It's working It wasn't when I came over.
Mine's not working.
Mine is now. It
Mine's
just
back
kicked
up
in.
working, but it wasn't just a
Yeah.
second ago, it had the exclamation point,
I think it's hit and miss.
But, yeah, I mean, the conversation, yeah, I think Carter laid it all out, if you wanna talk to Todd and kinda do some research, and there'll be a little bit of practice for you to learn the roles and handle some of that yourself. So if you can talk with Todd and come back to us with what he had come up with next week or 2 weeks maybe, I don't know.
right, 2 weeks, just in case Todd has to
Yeah.
work or something and he's
Yeah.
hard to get hold of.
Yep. I'm not setting a date in stone, I'd just say as soon as you can in general. And then, yeah, once you have something from him, you can talk with Tammy and get it put on the agenda and come back and present to us what you've learned or what's ready to go and go from there.
Yep. Any questions or? Okay, or you can get a hold of us, outside.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
Can check in or call if you got any questions, whatever, but
Okay.
no, perfect, thanks.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you,
That's it.
Cory. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Free to go.
Alright, thanks.
Alright,
Thanks,
have a good
Corey.
one. Okay, Doug, we're up to you. Discussion decision to approve 2080 cooperative agreement with all participating public agencies participating in the competitive highway bridge program grant project.
Yes, I put the resolution and the whole agreement into the board's folder. There's a copy of that resolution, Tammy. It goes through, saying that, the state, this would be county, cities, and state bridges. There have been bridges that have been identified specifically, this,
We don't see it in our
We
packet
don't have
or
a
in our
folder.
folder, do you? You
it's
know?
not in the.
Oh, I saw one, it might be in yesterday's folder, check there, cause I did see an engineer packet somewhere, so check yesterday's.
Yep, and it's in
June 30th.
Sorry,
June 30th.
That's alright. I got it here.
okay,
I knew I saw it somewhere.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but we were
okay,
fine.
so there is, information in that folder. There are state, city, and county bridges. Kossuth County has 2 structures, one directly east of Ledyard and one, right north of Fenton, a few miles on P16, that have been identified. They're part of, those 2 bridges. These are bundled projects. These 2 bridges will be tied together. We will be the administrator of the bundle. But this just says what responsibilities everybody has, and that we will do what our responsibilities are. This is not 100% federally funded. What does not get funded will come out of our farm to market fund that is administered through the Department of Transportation. But I would recommend that the board would approve of this resolution and us have the chair and Tammy sign the agreement so we can get this back to the Department of Transportation.
Oh, sorry.
Did you say we're gonna administer
Our bundle,
all of it?
our 2 projects are
Just
in
ours.
one bundle, and we will
Bundle
naturally
3.
pardon me?
Is that bundle 3 for Kossuth County?
I believe that's what it is, I can't,
Page 12.
right off the top.
I was just curious if it was just ours for Kossuth County or everybody
It would just
for
be
all?
ours.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna make the motion.
Okay, motion by Garmin to approve,
I'll second.
second by Stecker. Discussion on the motion. Okay, resolution number is 07012503. And hearing no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Haas,
Yes.
Garmin,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nah.
Yes. Motion carried.
And here, Tammy, is a copy of the agreement for you,
Okay.
and I will have you guys sign this resolution there. And this signature block, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Sign this one? Okay. Okay, we can go on to the approving the annual financial assurance report for the landfill.
Yes, again, there's some information in the folder talking about our post-closure, landfill post-closure fund. Here's a copy of that motion, but the post-closure fund was created by the Kossuth County Board of Supervisors on March 18th of 2003. The transfer station operation started November 1 of 2007. The landfill was closed September 30, 2008, which is in fiscal year 2009. The Environmental Protection Agency and the Iowa Department of Natural Resources rules require landfills to be fully funded for post-closure when they close. Our current balance, which would be June 1 of 2025 of the post-closure fund for the Kossuth County landfill is $442,254.09. Some expenses associated with groundwater testing and engineering are paid out of that post-closure fund. The balance of the post-closure fund 30 days after the close of the previous fiscal year was $464,907.79. Our engineers' estimated cost for post-closure care to the landfill for the next 14 years, that's through 2038, is $450,931. So our post-closure fund 30 days after the close of the last fiscal year's close is $464,907.79. Is greater than the engineer's estimate of the landfill's post-closure care, which was $450,931. Therefore, no transfer from the transfer station operating fund to the post-closure fund will be required. There's a report that I sent to the Department of Natural Resources stating this, along with some other information. But we do need the Board of Supervisors, because they own that Kossuth County owns that real estate. So they need to, the board needs to approve of that annual financial assurance report.
Okay, we have a motion by Garmin to approve,
I'll second.
second by Wactor. Discussion on the motion.
In the middle of the page, it says 442, and I'm sure I'm just not reading something correct. And then the fund is balanced out. Tell me the difference between the 442 and the 464. Is it
The
tiny?
464 is 30 days after the close of the previous fiscal year.
Does that reflect interest then, or what?
No, that would be what it was,
11 months?
July 31. How many days in
24.
July? 31, July 31 of 2024. So we have spent some money
Okay, alright.
out of, but what the DNR is looking for is that, what was the balance 30 days after the close of the last fiscal year,
Okay.
which was fiscal year 24.
Okay.
It's
Alright.
kind of,
That's fine, thank you.
yeah, no, sure, it's fine.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, this is not a resolution.
No.
Okay, all in favor of approving the financial assurance report, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then Carter, if you'll sign that line there, right beside the date, thank you. All right, perfect.
Construction on the right of way,
No request for construction in the right of way this week.
okay, and can roll into discussion.
Yeah, quickly, our, asphalt resurfacing is going, they are resurfacing, the B63 job, they're on the final lift on that, and they're also doing some widening out, between McGregor and Highway 18 on the Old Martin Road, P30. A lot of work going on there. Inspectors in our office are putting in long hours, 14 to 15 hours a day when everything is going the way it should be. The bridge construction north of Sexton, they're preparing to get the north pier piling, they're hoping to drive those tomorrow. Micro surfacing up on P30 near Soy City, they'll be going south to B19. That is going, they just got started yesterday. We have open positions at the engineer's office that we're advertising for, and the outgoing shop that we're advertising for an operator. Doing some discussion with our attorney's office on the junkyard corner to the west of Soy City and getting that cleaned up. Talked a little bit with Kendall, the Crail Wildlife Area down in Riverdale Township. They have an entryway there, and the road department, we have some crushed asphalt that we use on for different projects, a lot of field entrances for aggregate tops and different things like that. But I talked with Kendall, he asked if it would be all right if the road department would do this, put some of that material down and put it on that entryway when we had time. I said we would, but I wanted to make sure with the board that you don't have any problems with the road department doing that kind of thing. It's half a mile, I think, back. Is it further than that? 3/4. But they have mowed it. It's just something for the public then to use. It isn't gonna be 22-foot wide gravel top by any means, but we'll get it so that automobiles and pickups can get back there easily.
Do you have an estimate on how much that's gonna take as far
I
as
really don't.
material or hours right now?
It all depends on how the surface firms up. So we'll try to get it in there as well as possible. We may go and disc everything, work some stuff in.
Is that something you would track and bill conservation for or not?
I was not planning on it. Conservation does a lot of work, whether it's at the Kossuth County Transfer Station. They allow us to use the nature center for our safety meetings. So this is just kind of two departments working together to get each other's work done.
I'm all in favor of cooperation, but I thought it came, and this is not directly to you, but I thought it came up at the time, you know, that this was gonna be a black hole. You know, if you make the parking area at the highway, who's gonna use it? And if you make an avenue to get back there, it's gonna be expensive over the years. I don't have the solution, I'm sorry to come up to talk about it without a solution, but it's gonna take a significant amount of material. And I'm very much in favor of everybody working together.
Well, if the board would prefer that the road department not do it, please let me know.
I think at the very least, I think we should have some sort of keep track of what it takes, I mean, even if it's just for knowledge. I mean, that's probably gonna be a significant undertaking, I would imagine.
Is that the board's feeling?
Be nice to know how much of what gets used and the amount of work that gets put into it.
Yeah, I'm not against it, I've listened to people say it won't be used if there isn't an avenue to get back there. But we glossed over it pretty quick when it came time to approve buying that property and it's gonna be expensive. The problem is if somebody treats it right, you know, it'll be fine, but somebody's gonna go back there after a 3-inch rain and there'll be ruts and then it just.
Well, that definitely will be that way if it does not have a good surface on it.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, they have other places.
I know, Hurlburt.
Hurlburt is an area where you gotta drive back, I was just over that, and that is what my discussion with Kendall, we were comparing it to. So that, seems to be respected by people. So,
Yeah, no, I'm not telling you that, my opinion is I'm not telling you not to do it, I would say get along and work on it, especially if it's, but it was glossed over pretty quick at the time, not by you, but.
okay. And then, one of our technicians, one of the guys that are doing some inspection on our resurfacing, has a planned vacation. I have contacted Humboldt County and they're going to, support or bring a technician up. These are federally funded jobs. Technicians need to be certified by the Iowa Department of Transportation in order to inspect that. Adam Miller in our office was certified. He was our third person to go to when something was going on. Doug Crouch and I did not have time to get certified. We plan on being certified. One of us will get certified next winter for this, but if you see a check, and I'll let you know, but we will reimburse Humboldt County for that technician's work. And then, I don't know, I know that, a draft of the solar ordinance was, emailed to us. I don't know if that got put to the board of supervisors or not.
I never got it.
I don't believe so.
So would you like me to email you a copy, or would you like somebody else to take care of all that work?
I would think Corey could be doing that.
Or did he receive a copy?
Did he?
I believe he was on that email here.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, we should probably see
There
it.
is a board adjustment meeting tonight, and I'm helping Corey with that.
Okay.
Where's that at?
That'll be here in this room, 5 o'clock.
At some point, he's gotta learn and take the reins, so.
That's all that I have.
question before you leave, I've had a few people reach out to me recently about ditch cleaning. I'm just curious, is there a running list of people that have put in requests, and is there, an order that we get them done in, or, and maybe I can talk about this later, but yeah.
We are still catching up from last year's work orders on ditch cleaning.
Okay,
It takes time, but we also have other priorities, so it's not necessarily the highest priority on our list.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. Alright.
We're up to drainage.
Yep, we're up to drainage, so. Good morning, Tyler.
Morning.
5 minute break while he gets set up.
I was gonna say, you guys just while I did.
Okay, we'll take a short break while Tyler gets set up then.
You need the projector, Tyler?
I was going to, just.
Tyler, if you remember when that report was filed? Or do you have a date on the front of it?
April 29th.
Nope, not today.
What's on the board,
I'm gonna make one last, did I leave my stuff? One final one.
Never.
I just didn't know the meeting before I was. House next door in the neighborhood actually sticks out further than this addition. I have no idea if that's accurate or not.
The house to the south actually sits closer to the property line than this.
Should I care about all this?
No, because the board of adjustment makes a decision, and people don't agree with it, they go to court. That's what the.
Sorry.
No, that's fine, it's fine. But the board of adjustment is their own judgment. Steve Struger is the chair right now. Wade Eisenbarth and Chuck Legler. There's 5. One is.
Tyler, if you email the report, like.
I do, but I haven't had internet all morning long. Try to.
You got.
I can try, I'll try my hotspot here.
I was gonna say, I have mine on.
That's what I. The,
Well, he did say you're in, but I don't want to know.
okay, I'm on this. What's that?
Just from this
I just got a hotspot.
All of us or just
Just the back.
just me? Okay.
10%, 14% on the tile, it's a 51.
Allowed.
15. Or no. Let's see, there are none that are specifically just for the tile, so objecting to both, but the whole project is 15 and 12 to the ditches. Tim, there's 110 acres in there. Yep. But if you take the total objecting acres, right, 27%.
Might want to start to move 2 weeks now, and we either have a week for sure, if not 2 weeks.
You never had it ever.
Stand up for it. It's not a bad idea, these chairs are not comfortable at all.
there been any more objections filed? Okay.
No,
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, it is after 10 o'clock, so we're gonna get started with drainage here, and we will need a motion to,
no,
No,
it's continued.
no. Oh no, it's continued, never mind, we don't need any motion, so.
So it may not come through. It's just
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Tyler, do you have comments first then?
Yeah, I could, good morning all, welcome back. We did take and tally up objecting acres. Let's see, there would have been, in total, 10 landowner objections of the 39 distinct names on the existing schedule. And at a total, now there was difference broken up between objections for the ditch project and or for the tile. But even if we take all of the objecting acres, it's 742 of the 2,703 that exist on the existing schedule. That represents 27.5% of the acres. So as far as the remonstrance of majority of landowners owning 70% of the area, that has not been met by objections. Other than that, just as a refresher, talking about the potential lower main tile improvement project of drainage district number 4, lateral 11. Just a second here, I'm trying to do. So again, essentially the lower portion of that system which would have been the replacement of from the tile outlet to the junction box. And then the talk of going further. I had further correspondence with the Union Slough about that, let them know that the hearing had been continued to today, and that there was the potential interest, if this goes, of increasing that size to provide the same continued capacity across the highway there. So they are aware of that, they're aware that this got continued, and what is on the table here. So, other than that, I do not have
Did they
much,
have any thoughts or concerns about increasing the size through?
only that they need to coordinate with Ducks Unlimited to make sure that that got into their plans. It didn't sound like there was much concern of actually doing it.
As far as the grant or anything like that?
Well, it would be, that money is still there. It would be the amount of that money wouldn't increase, it would still be on the district to make up the difference in that, but there would still be, the amount that was set forward before. And I let them know that regardless of what we do here, some form of their project will go. So, that's all still valid and on the table. With that, I guess I'll just open it up for any more landowner comments. Any other further objections? Before we started again, I did ask Tammy, no other objections have come in. So,
Junction box, that will be replaced.
yes. It will have to be because we don't have a large enough, we're not gonna try to cut that big of hole. It's not big enough to, we'd be outside it, right? So, yes, it would need to get.
How big would it be then?
Who, you typically, what is it, like 2 foot either side, bigger than, because you've got your wall thicknesses too, so it'd be, you've got the, at that point, we're a 48-inch up there, so, you're probably looking at, just like an 8x8 at least structure, probably, to get everything into it and out. Just off the top of my head.
Covered or open or how's that?
Well, the current one is open, right, serving as a.
It's broken concrete cover on top of it.
Right, generally, we cover them and we bury them. With the amount of cover here, we could, it'd be, my preference would be to cover it and bury it, but I'm not sure exactly with the lay of the land there, how feasible that would be. Our pipe would have the 3 foot of cover onto it, but when you get the amount of cover in the concrete in the actual junction box to get around that pipe, you're gonna be pretty close to the top.
Does it have to go in the exact same spot or could it be?
No,
Would you work with
yes.
that farmer to put it where it gives the least amount of wells?
Absolutely. I would never dream of putting it in the same place. No contractor would want to do that. To get that out, the existing one out of there and the new one back, you're never gonna have that same kind of fresh cut surface for settlement. It's just a pain to try to work in the exact same spot.
How does that work with the tiles coming in from 2 different directions then?
We'll need to extend those to make it we'll need to place it. We'll probably try to shy on the side where they are coming in from to limit that amount, but they all then need to get extended and reconnected to that system. So, yeah, that's all things that go into the final design. The preliminary is a proof of concept, can we get cover? The final design is all of the nitty-gritty details like that.
So the pipe coming in from the west is probably substandard. When you put that box, I mean, you're gonna cut a hole big enough for them so that they can have a half-inch drain coefficient. If they ever want to.
That is a good idea. With the likelihood of that happening, we will likely have it. It'd be better to do that now than to try to retrofit that box.
You just put a reduction in there.
Right. Yeah. You have them bulldog out a bigger hole for those two. So, yes, yeah, all that stuff is, I suppose the other question I pose is if this goes is there an interest in looking at different material types or just the one material type if we know what is the preference, with some cover issues? I don't think that there's really much of a substitute for the strength that concrete pipe provides. But I'm not gonna stand in the way of district desires either. Either one of them creates a,
Do you have any concerns with the low amount of cover in places with a plastic pipe? I mean,
the plastic manufacturers,
Strain.
the plastic manufacturers will tell you that they're more concerned about the abundance of cover with the amount of weight that has over it. With this size tile, we have just completed a project with plastic of this size. It would require full rock envelope on it, as the other one did, and a post-installation inspection for deformation. Plastic pipe's considered it's not rigid, it's a flexible pipe. I was lost for the word there for a second. Meaning that it does have the ability to give a little bit. If I'm recalling the standard off the top of my head right, the maximum allowable deflection from circular is 5%. Everything has to be that or less to be in compliance with the specifications. So that gets measured then by what we've done in the past is it's one of the robotic cameras that'll go in and it's a digital mandrel. They use a laser rig that measures with essentially LiDAR to tell what the deflection in that pipe is. And that has to happen 30 days after installation.
And what happens if it doesn't meet spec?
If it doesn't meet spec, contractor's coming back at their expense to get it replaced.
Be an absolute mess.
Yep. It is, because you've got the full rock envelope in there and
Again, I wouldn't wish that on anybody's farm.
no. And plastic would take significantly more rock. It's going to need the full rock envelope. The ultimate cleanup of that is sometimes questionable, because with the 1 inch clean that's required for that, there's certainly smaller pieces on that are left around. Even if you're the most diligent about how you do it, there is still rock left over afterwards. Whereas concrete, the rock required is only if it's if the conditions beneath the pipe are substandard. Then that gets replaced to make a bed for rock. Yeah.
There's a lot of potential for, hog manure to be applied over this pipe. With, heavy equipment and stuff they use for that, would that make a difference in?
I don't like to choose favorites between them, but if I'm going to err, I would rather in the direction of the strength provided by concrete pipe. If that's fair.
You know,
If that is fair for me to say, that is the way, that, even with the price difference, there's a bit more of a peace of mind, especially with something of this size. This size with the cover,
what kind of price difference do you estimate?
between 10 and 30%.
Is that just the pipe, does that include fitting?
That's when you compare install to install. Like that's all.
Do you have a estimated cost?
I do.
And that's for concrete, right?
Check. It's about in there. The estimated cost, accessible cost in here is, $2,770,000.
How much an acre?
Per acre, that's $951.
We got 14 acres in that. We don't need it. We're on the top. We drain it and chase, but why should I pay, how much did you say per acre?
What, it's $951 an acre, but that's an average. The assessments are based on benefit received.
With 14 acres, throw a monkey wrench in the whole deal?
As far as,
Objections?
it would count as valid, but it wouldn't, no, it wouldn't change what, it would change the percentages, but it wouldn't.
What do you need for percentages? Over 30?
It's, the percentage is to stop at beer remonstrance, it's a majority of landowners, so that's by count. And when I tally up from the current assessment schedule, there are 39 unique names on there. So you would need over half of those, and that half would need to own 70% of the acres to end it. So that's the estimate.
Plastic or concrete?
Oh, that would have been, I typically estimate them the same, I think it's, in there, the items are listed as plastic. So I think I may have, let's say that's the plastic estimate, to be safe.
Past projects, is material decided before, I mean, I assume engineering is a little bit different, one versus the other. Do other projects get bid both ways to see where it comes out, or?
We have bid them both ways, there's a bit more involved just in the final plan. It doesn't change the design, what it changes is that you then have 2 pages for everything, right? You've got the one that has the items as listed for plastic and the one for concrete. So you've got a bit more into engineering to get those comparable numbers, but we have bid quite a few of them. Either we've been looking at different drainage coefficients, in this case there really isn't the ability to go much larger. We've been looking at either the different drainage coefficients or different material types, sometimes both. Sometimes we've had contractors get a little annoyed when we've got 4 options on the table, say 2 different drainage coefficients and 2 different material types, because then they've got to track down a bunch of numbers on things that they may not end up using. Well, 3/4 of them they don't end up using. There's some overlap, but 3/4 of those options don't get selected. But that is something that we've been looking at. It's really the only true way to get a comparison for price sake.
Yes, the reason I ask, my preference is concrete, unless, 30% on a $2.5 million project starts being a lot of money. So that, I don't know how you get to the nitty gritty on it, but if you do concrete for not a lot more, I think it's a no-brainer.
And you can, with those options, it doesn't lock you into it would lock you in, well, it would be, you could go with the low of either, it doesn't lock you into the ultimate low. The specs always have in it a clause that a decision can be made based on price or material preference.
The other project that you were talking about, 60/4, the televising report, we did have overall pretty good results from that, and that was plastic bedded in rock.
And that was.
Did they look at concrete on that project?
Yes, and we did get bids for both directions. So that would be a good example.
And that was over a mile of 60-inch pipe
That was
that The worst was about a 20-foot segment that deflected 4%, everything else was under 2.
And one of the components to that, on the size of materials, they did not make plastic in the same sizes as concrete, so there's actually portions of it that are upsized to the next available size in plastic in comparison to the concrete bids, so it was a cheaper price and higher quantity of water moved at the same time. And I know it was over 10% difference, but I don't have exact off the top of my head.
What was the cover on it? You remember?
I think at most there was 9 feet.
Was it as low as 3 feet ever? Or-
There are some segments that are lower, I think it got to 4.
Did that happen to be where the deflection was, or wasn't that necessarily?
Oh, you're testing my memory. That I don't recall. I don't remember where that one segment was.
That's
How far is the 60 going, or, you know?
It's, let's see. It's not quite 2 miles.
So it's going all the way to
It's-
junction box to 60?
Nearly.
Okay.
Yeah, there would be, and to Kyle's point, if we went plastic, they don't make plastic in 54-inch diameter. So the plan calls out for 700 feet of that would go to 60-inch, then you'd have 9,800, almost 9,900 feet of 60-inch, and another 460 feet of 48-inch. So it goes nearly to, all but 500 feet to the junction
Why don't
box.
you just take it all the way to the junction box?
The cost savings, the difference reflected in the price between the 60 and the 48 times 500 feet.
What does it cross 500 feet out that requires that size change?
It would be the
Is there another main out there teed into it, or?
there's, yeah,
Well, you're downsizing one before that anyway. if you-
right, it would have been,
Option.
it's all based on the area that flows to it. For the capacity watersheds. And there may be a grade change that had existed at that point. I need to go back and look at the calculations on how all of that was reached, but.
What interior surface is slicker?
Plastic edges concrete in its actual materials, smoothness by essentially one roughness, 1/100th of a roughness coefficient. However, the plastic pipe, if it does start with any sort of deflection, it starts to push because it's the outside is corrugated. When it starts to push those corrugations through on the inside, that wall roughness starts to provide a ripple effect. Whereas concrete is a constant solid. Now, it will get rougher as it ages, but not significantly. So that's a bit of if you were just comparing a finished concrete surface to the interior wall of a dual wall pipe, plastic takes it. When you start to add some of those in-field situations, you really get a very comparable products.
Between the manufacturers of plastic, is there a difference in quality?
Oh, I won't touch that one. I won't, nope. Nope, not, they are all, I wouldn't say that there's, it's all sufficient. Right, no, I'm not gonna get into manufacturers like that, no.
Okay.
Seems like we got a general consensus to move forward with the tile option, so.
And desiring it to be bid both ways,
Yeah,
or both materials, I mean.
so then,
And with that, just as a clarification, since Doug is here, the road crossings would always be concrete tied. We'll run those by you for review before we take that to bids. And then we'd need to coordinate with the DOT as far as their preference. I'm sure they're probably gonna want to bore something through there. Need to get all the applicable permits and everything like that for that, so, just as a clarification.
so then, next steps would be to close the hearing and then accept the report and direct engineer to prepare final plans and go to bid letting and stuff, or what am I missing?
Yeah, that would, we need to adopt the plan.
Half inch. Yeah,
It's all gonna be happening.
that's the best realistic capacity for tile, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, if the improvement project does go, of course, that constitutes a change in inherent benefit, but that can all be motioned for later. Really, the next step would be the formal adoption of a plan as it's been modified and directing me to prepare final plans and specifications, proceeding towards a bid letting.
What about reclassification? This is gonna go, because you don't have, so you're gonna have to reclassify, so there's no sense waiting for reclassification.
And that's a good point too. If that got motioned, that some of the legwork, to Joe's point, could get going sooner, because there are some downtimes between when we're waiting for bids to come in. There's just opportunities to get some of that moving, so you have that, to Joe's point, more in tandem with as the project moves, the reclass moves with it, and it limits the amount of interest because you're able to assess on
On a deal like this, when they're half done, you contact the property owners and give them the chance to pay their bill before any end. It's Iowa Code 468.50 through Iowa Code 468.60. That's never been done here before. They always wait for the reclassification till everything's done. Then you gotta wait for that, and it's more interest. And this way, this gives the people the ability to pay their bill as the project's proceeding, because the classification's been done. And the only thing that you can object to is the classification. The project's still gonna move ahead, so we get through all that.
Right, the objecting, you're right, the objecting to this is done at the close of
Right.
the hearing, so.
But we won't have the reclass stuff today, obviously.
No.
No,
Say that,
Not,
but it's gonna be done before the end of the project.
right.
yeah.
So, yeah, that is my,
Right.
It looks like this 60-inch pipe, the new pipe's gonna go in. If that's the case, are we for sure gonna upsize the pipe going through the government ground?
that my plan is to call the Union Slough as soon as we leave
So-
here. I had already brought up to them that if this goes, that's the desire.
And you don't think there'll be any pushback?
I don't think so.
If there is, for whatever reason, do we still need a 60-inch pipe?
It would still, to provide,
I'm not saying we don't, I'm just asking, it feels like a lot of things get done and nobody's really saying what they want, but if the big pipe's going in, that's great, and the pipe's obviously going through the government grounds. But we're kinda, I feel like we're kinda telling them what they're gonna do, and they don't seem to go for that most of the time.
we can reevaluate and inform people if that doesn't happen.
If it hits a snag, we'll revisit it.
Right, and we can revisit essentially then what you need is to size to the, it's tough, because is it no for now, or is it them telling us no forever, or what's the thing? I think putting the 60-inch in is the option that provides and holds the maximum that the system can get. It provides now and into the future the half inch. If you step down because you've been told now, you've essentially handcuffed yourself forever.
But that's to the south side of the government ground anyway, even to go to a half, you'd be at a smaller than 60, wouldn't you? Didn't you say it'd be?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, you could maybe step down to a 54, but then again, if you go plastic, they don't make that, you need to jump all the way down to a 48, that size change would be tough.
Yeah, I don't mean to say I think we need to, I just,
It's a very valid thing to consider.
Didn't you say it would step down before the second junction box anyway?
Second junk, you're talking down.
No,
Yeah,
first
that'd be
would
the
be
second.
coming off the ditch.
It would step down there, yeah.
Yeah, so if
So-
you're at a 48 before you get there, you wouldn't need
You're-
60 north of that.
Right, yeah,
So you'd be at a 48 anyway, it would,
right,
or smaller,
right.
so, yeah, you wouldn't have a 60.
But I think what Ryan's saying is, does it need to be that same size?
Yeah, I understand that, you'd still need the same size on the downstream side of the federal ground, but going through the federal ground, you wouldn't be at a 60.
right, I know that. I just mean if what's a 36 now for sure, and
Yes.
possibly gonna go to a
42.
42. If we can't get to the 42, I just didn't know if that's gonna reduce everybody beyond that so much that we wouldn't need to put in such a big pipe, because you'd have more cover and possibly more fall. But if you still need a 60, that's fine, I just,
Yep.
thinking out loud.
So I think part of that would come in with the reclass, and Tyler, correct me at any point, but your pipe that would get installed would eventually translate to the realized capacity that you would have, and then that would be in comparison to the rest of the district, so how those costs get split out would be assuming everyone's benefit. I mean, you talked about that before, Tyler, as far as everybody's assumed max benefit of it, but then private tile and connections, of course, can be different, but your capacity from a district perspective would be the same, because you're talking the same number of acres, so your capacity that way would correlate the same way.
If we hit a snag with that, I will let everyone know, and we can look at what's actually needed.
I mean, if it's minuscule, there's no reason to go through the trouble, but.
Right, well, I mean, it's not, I already have all the numbers run, it would just have to be a few minutes looking to compare them.
Whether it matters.
Right.
Is that money that they say that they're gonna give, is it guaranteed?
I have been told it is guaranteed.
Remember a few years ago, they guaranteed some money and they didn't pay it, then what?
That was a different deal.
Bullshit. What was the different deal?
I have been told they have the money sitting, ready to go.
We're talking with the government here now.
Well, that's, I can't hold them to their word any more
Right,
than
you can't hold them to their
than
word.
anybody else, but they have given me their word.
So is the old system, you'll just leave that the way it is?
Within reason of some spot repairs, yes. And cross connections to take full advantage of the new capacities.
So the old system will be relieved into the.
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to deprive one side or the other that increased capacity just because of an arbitrary decision to go on one side and not the other. So yes, it will be relieved into this line.
The one of those current two of them, one of them's not taking much of any water, so that will be,
We're gonna need to figure out why. Yep.
so there's sort of, well, all three would be working.
Correct. By the time this is all said and done, the point, the whole end goal is to get all three, install one and get the other three all running.
Are you talking the two that leave the junction box just off of the federal ground? When we did televising in there, there's 200 to 300 feet off the top of my head that they couldn't get through with a little bit of dirt in the bottom. It wasn't significant from what we could see, but that on low water flows, you would probably see a difference there in which pipe would take it first. But that was part of the recommendation of making repairs to the existing system. But we didn't move forward with any of that up until now, because if it all went a different direction or whatever, we were trying to get some direction from this process before doing physical work in the field.
If you'd repaired all of it and then we went in and tore it all out, it would have been bad, it would have been spent, good money spent badly.
You know, 10,000 feet of tile there, and you got a chunk of 100 feet there that's not working very good, stopping.
The older tile's got 7 or 8 inches of sediment in it, you know, towards the tail end there, because it's laying flat.
So,
That all has to get addressed.
is there any other questions, comments, discussion? If not, I'd move to close the public hearing.
Motion by Stecker to close the public hearing. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Wactor. Discussion on closing the public hearing.
Yeah, this sounds like a cover my ass kind of thing, I apologize, that I don't want to come out that way, but we wanna do what you guys wanna do, not what we wanna do, so you guys gotta agree amongst yourselves what you want. I suppose if you can't agree, then we have to step you in the middle, but it'll be a lot easier if you guys know what you wanna do. That sound bad or stupid or?
No, I mean, I think that's fair, I think the feedback we've received as far as what we're able to make a decision off of.
Okay. No further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Haas,
Yes.
Garmin,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nah.
Yes. Motion carried, public hearing is closed.
Okay, so then Tyler, for action after the hearing, you said to adopt the plan and report as discussed, and then direct the engineer to proceed to, final plans and bid letting. Okay.
Correct.
I would make that motion if you got notes there, Tammy. Do you want material types?
Yes, I would like that specified if we're going,
Let's,
that's part of the adoption of the plan.
yeah,
If
so
we're gonna,
that would include bidding, concrete and plastic options for the half-inch tile. Tried to specify.
Half-inch coefficient.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Anything else we're missing,
That-
details wise?
No, I think that gives me my marching orders.
Okay, so you said indirect engineer to what?
To proceed to, final plans and bid letting.
Okay,
For the half-inch tile with concrete plastic options. Wherever you got that in there.
Can you repeat it, so
Yeah.
we,
Motion by Stecker to adopt the plan and report for DD 4 sub 9 lat 11 as discussed and direct the engineer to proceed to the final plans and bid letting with half-inch coefficient for the tile with concrete and plastic options.
alright. Okay. Everyone understand the motion? Discussion? Or, oh, we need a second first, don't we? Okay, second by Garmin. Now discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all.
Yep, thanks for coming. Got a second.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you, yes.
Tyler, next on the agenda is pay app two for
Bless you.
Oh, okay.
Yours too.
quick project.
Yes.
Overview or highlight.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I don't.
In short, it's going very well. Lateral 40, they are
Hey, guys.
planning on crossing the.
Guys, we're back in meeting here, so if we could just either keep it on or if you can visit.
They are, progressing nicely. They have made it beyond the connection point with lateral 42. Their plan is to cross the road, early next week. I believe the county has been, the secondary roads department has been informed about that. But I will double check on all of that. There had been a bit of a worry that with CRP ground, the project wasn't going to be allowed to continue during, the primary nesting season. That fear doesn't exist anymore, where we are able to proceed through there. They were granted permission for that. We have also, we're up to the point of finalizing the slight alignment change on lateral 42 to avoid the existing farmed wetlands that are in that area. We worked with the landowners, the FSA and the NRCS office, where if we are 120 feet outside of the boundary for the wetlands that they set forth, they would not consider the wetlands to have been converted. So we were able to, with the sliding of the alignment, and the addition of that length, essentially 120 feet in length, just to slide out and around, could save up to 10 acres worth of wetland conversion, which at $15,000 an acre would have been significant to those landowners. I say we are almost complete because there is a slight bit of realignment to do to get back on the west side of the road so that the appropriate connections can be made and the same level of drainage can be provided to those landowners, even though that shift has been made. So, currently working on that, but once we have that finalized yet this week, my plan is to get that then staked out and have the second contractor start working on that. Zach Lubenthal has expressed his interest in getting started on it. So that is my update there on that one. Any questions on it or anything like that?
Making sure they clean up everything as they go.
Yes, yes, yeah, yep, yeah, no, that message has been, loud and clear.
Sounds good.
We need a motion to approve the pay app then?
Quick question, is there a reason we don't have signature from Right, so.
Do we have a signed copy?
Did the signed ones come in from?
Rachel's signature,
We got the one with.
or is it just both?
Tyler.
Well, it might have been, I might have just put the copy in that was emailed to me and not the copy that was.
Yeah, that.
No, I don't, it isn't signed.
Oh. Okay.
Wait, let me make sure I have the right thing, I have two different things here.
Oh, that one's 60/4, now that one wouldn't be. And if you just had,
Yep, I
oh,
did.
yep, there you go.
It is
He
signed.
did sign it.
Okay.
Okay. Kyle still making a motion? Okay, motion to approve, need a second?
I'll do that.
You'll do a second?
Yeah.
Okay, second by Hodge. Further discussion on the payout? Not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you all.
Okay, we are, we're getting towards the end here. We are on to discussion decision to approve drainage repair requests.
Sign that.
I do that all the time.
Oh, did Dell sign where I was supposed to?
Right off the junction box, maybe, or drive off or sometime. Okay, when it works. Yeah. Could you go off the day and
This one too?
Yeah, that's the other one where
60
they,
sub four.
yeah.
Didn't see the third one.
That's okay.
We got a few repair requests today,
Just two.
just two.
That's We're on 48, 49. We have been at 106 at this point of the, we have been at 106 at this point of the year before.
I looked at that wrong.
Okay, we'll go ahead, whoever wants, Amber, you got?
Sure.
One?
I have number 48, and it's Drainage District 106, Section 2 of Union Township in the northwest quarter. It looks like there is a blowout, and I will contact him to talk it over with him.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I got number 4984, lot 11 open ditch. Andy Maron's got some pictures of a nice hole in the side of the bank, so we'll get that touched up here.
Okay. Need a motion for supervisors to handle their requests? Motion by Wactor, second by Haas. Discussion? Not all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Discussion with the county auditor.
I wanna talk to you about some drainage stuff first.
Alright,
I got a petition for DD 80 sections 28 and 29, for an improvement. I have no idea what to do with it, so if you guys could give me guidance, please.
Yeah, and I was hoping to talk to you yesterday on that, but I didn't think of it when we got done. That's up south of Lead Yard, but I need to look at how they worded it, cause they actually are looking for improvement on two separate lines that are kinda side by side with each other, so we may need an additional piece of paper. But the next step with any petition like that is to appoint an engineer, and then we go through the same process, we just kind of
So I would put it on the agenda
to
to appoint an engineer.
accept the petition for improvement and appoint an engineer. Yep. Yeah, and I've had quite a few conversations with the tenant that farms that and the farm manager. We've been talking about repairs or improvements in that area for a couple of years.
Okay. Okay. Now you can go on to discussion with the auditor. Next week,
Quick question as you're getting stuff out, drainage, can I put in a repair request? Like in a ditch, say trees are growing up and they're getting too tall and something needs to be done about them, can I put in?
Trustees can.
I can put in a request for that, okay. Cause that, well, you know, where Rick and Gina are just south in that ditch, there's a bunch of trees there along the Laverne section road
Has
that.
that been sprayed? Or does it not get sprayed?
I don't know, but they're getting big.
Double check to make sure it's not a private trustee drain, would be the only.
Yeah, I'm just saying if I look into that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's a drain we're trustees of, absolutely, if you see something that needs attention, or someone
Okay.
brings it to your attention, yeah,
Okay.
we can fill out requests just as well.
Okay,
You actually don't even have to be in the drainage district, you could be,
anywhere.
say HVAC guy driving down the road that sees, oh, there's a hole out in the field, and they call somebody, they don't even have to be a owner in the district to turn in a request, but it gets turned in, then we would look at it as trustees, you would handle it appropriately.
Sure, yep.
But we had opinion from Hudson on that, probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, I don't remember when.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sounds good.
okay, so
Go
next
ahead.
week, we just have our regular stuff, and then we have Lynn Stevens retirement recognition. We did finish interviews for the, drainage clerk position. So if you'd like to talk to me about that, please feel free to do that after the meeting. And I think that's all I have. I was planning on being gone for vacation this week, but too much is gone, but I do plan on leaving tomorrow morning, so I will be gone. I get everything done today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. That's all I have.
Okay, Howard?
I have nothing.
Okay, Amber?
You guys had it easy, I was busy.
Well, you didn't do anything Friday either.
I was busy Friday. Friday we had our CHADC meeting. The couple big highlights, we've got Hollers and Cooney working on an investigation. They were directed by the board to look into some things which were discussed in closed session, so I can't lay that out now, obviously. But then, prior to that, we had, approved as a commission a settlement agreement, which I can share with everybody here after the meeting, would be a public record per attorney's request, and there was a media request for it from the Des Moines Register here recently, but, that case has been resolved, so that was one of the big fires in the works, but otherwise, like, we went over financials and budget and all that stuff, and that's on pretty good track. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me later or whatever too, but that was busy part of this last week, and there's definitely more coming up with all that.
Good. Is that all you had?
I think, I think that's all I had for the
Okay.
meeting and stuff.
Josh? I had no meetings. I did have a meeting, I just told Tammy I left my whole packet out on the vehicle, but I had a Care Connections meeting yesterday, and, if there's anything
Is
else.
that your last one?
That was our last one, if there's anything else, I'll update more next week, but as a general highlights, yeah, that was our last in-person meeting. We're officially dissolved today, but the closeout, the latest day that we can be officially closed and counts done and everything is January 21st. Is their end day. We're gonna have a Zoom meeting just to approve the claims that come in after the first of the year here on 22nd of July, and then we'll have a meeting 26th of August. And that'll be our last Zoom meeting, and then the governing board is done. So I've got 2 Zoom meetings left for that, and they'll just be quick approval claims. Our financial person who takes care of claims and stuff, she decided not to take another job. She's staying on to probably till the end of August to finish out, just the work that needs to be done, along with another lady that's there. She's moving to the conservation department, in her respective county, and, but she's gonna be finishing out with the region and helping close things out too. They did a wonderful job of, I think we're gonna have to turn back in $143 and some odd cents to the state. So $143 or $145, something like that. So I mean, they really got it down to a few dollars. That's pretty darn good. So by law, we had to carry so much over just for grants that were already in the works, other obligations. So I think we carried over 631,000, and it's expected that about half of that will end up going back to the state as well, just the nature of things. But that's how much we had to have carried over. So anything that was above that number is what we had to turn back into the state, before the end of the fiscal year. So they were really happy about that. But I mean, Melissa and the team there, they've kept about $4.5 million in the region here from going back to the state. So I mean, that's something to be proud of, and using that money in our communities, so. Yeah, other than that, Melissa Lear, who was CEO of Care Connections, she was hired as the new District 2, which is what district we'll be in for the redistricting things. She's the District 2 lead, so she'll be the top person in the new district, and very happy.
What is it they do?
Work with all the providers
Of what?
of mental health and behavioral health and
how does
disability
this dovetail with
services.
this 2080 agreement we did yesterday?
That had to do with agreement with other counties regarding our mental health advocate. And because we share with other counties, and that was previously done through Care Connections, and that working with that entity, being that entity's dissolved, we need a new agreement on how to continue that, and also how to pay for her until the state gets all their stuff finalized and set up and decides what they're doing here.
Or change their mind and redo it again.
Yeah, but yeah, but Melissa will be in charge of the new behavioral health district. So, anyway, I think that's all I have for that. If there was something else, I'll say it next week. And something just to be aware of, Brandon Oswald did reach out to me, and there was most likely gonna be a meeting 22nd of July. He would like to have a conference board meeting. We have received no applications for assessor, and so wanting to have discussions regarding what we're gonna do moving forward, so.
What day was that?
That was July 22nd at
But it'll be on our agenda.
5:30, yeah, I think is the time, but it would be on our agenda, yeah.
You'll reach out to me if that's set in stone, or that
I-
is set in stone.
That is how I understand, but yeah, we can confirm with him, but,
It's the same day that Tammy just emailed us.
oh, the Farm Bureau picking thing?
Yep.
Oh, that's fine. That's good.
What time you said?
I think it's at 5:30, where's my calendar at? When I talked to him, I wrote it down. 5:30, conference board meeting, July 22nd. And I visited with other people, hoping somebody would be interested in the position, and I mean, we've gotten, I talked to Pam Wymore yesterday just to confirm with the examining board, but they've received zero of any communication from anybody, so. Webster County, you know, the assessor and the deputy resigned down there, they actually, the conference board came back, or gave her what she wanted, and she came back. Both the assessor and the deputy, they both took their positions back, so. Anyway, so that one's not vacant anymore. Also, don't forget, is it next, Tammy, is it next, Tuesday or next Monday? Next Monday, the 7th, we've got hearing over in Whittemore for DD 40.
No,
No, we
No,
don't?
we talked
No.
about this last,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
said
not
you
till
had
the
written it
15th.
down. Why did I have it written down on the 7th?
we talked
I had
about
it
that
written down
last.
at 7th too at one time.
Okay,
I had the exact same thing written down, but I got it Xed out, it says 15.
Yeah,
yep,
it's the
I must not
15th.
have gotten Xed out. And it's at what time?
15th at 6:30, and I double
6:30.
checked it with Linda.
Okay.
It is the 15th.
15th at 6:30, DD 40, hearing over in Whittemore. Alright, couple week notice, don't forget. Good thing I said something. Okay.
What time is that again?
6:30.
And I won't forget that either, I will go,
Why do I have in my calendar, I don't ever remember putting this in, Whittemore meet and greet at Pitchers. At 5:00.
Wishful thinking.
Why do I have that on there?
Amber's gonna go try and find some
Amber's
pictures.
gonna go have a good time.
She wants to go fishing.
I'm sorry, I have other plans.
Conflicted in the schedule.
That gives you an hour and a half to do a meet and greet.
I don't know why I have that on there, so it's at what time is that?
6:30.
6:30. I'll
And
try
it'll-
and make it there for my meet and greet.
Okay.
It's really weird. I wonder if it was one of those things that was like on Facebook or something I was invited to and it got
Oh,
put on my
could be.
calendar? I don't know, that's really weird.
Alright.
So basically, there's nothing going on in the next week.
Nothing going on in the next week, okay. Yep, I was just making you worry the assessor thing, so.
Well, next week, yeah.
Yes, the assessor thing is 22nd,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, so, okay, that's all I have. Need a motion to adjourn? Motion adjourned, motion by Stecker, second by Wactor, discussion on adjourning. If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, unanimous. We are adjourned at 11:17.